Kent Savage. Right?
Great. How you doing? Okay, we'll get it underway here.
Okay,
You know, obviously, I had a chance to recap the game against Iowa the other day. You know, I thought that one thing I will say on that is I thought our toughness was really good. I thought we've done a great job with that lately. I didn't think we played real smart. Thought we had too many mistakes, really at both ends of the floor. But I think we've really, you know, started to play with the toughness that you need to play with this time of year. We need to execute a little bit better, make fewer mistakes. You know, this has been an interesting week for us because we've had 3 games in 6 days, and so we've tried to manage their bodies and minds the best we can. You know, we didn't do a whole lot yesterday because I thought we played extremely hard in Iowa City. So yesterday was a big mental day. Obviously, we started to dive into Northwestern, who's playing really well. Right now, they're shooting the ball really well. You know, they've made around 43s in their last 4 games. Different guys are doing it. They've got some young guys that have really stepped up and played well for them. It reminds me a little bit of last year, how some of our freshmen at that time looked in February versus January, and they've clearly gotten better. They're playing with a lot of confidence right now on both ends of the floor, but especially offensively. I think they're really in sync. A lot of people are talking certainly about their young guys, and rightly so, but I do think Demps has really been a big part of it as well as Ola. You know, both those guys in conjunction with their younger guys have played really well. You know, Ola's numbers are up. You know, Demps made big plays when they beat Indiana the other night. They went on a run that kind of got them some distance, and you know, he had all 9 of them, you know, on that run. So he's a very explosive scorer. You know, we'll have our hands full tomorrow. You know, we're looking forward to the challenge, and you know, today we got to have a good practice, and then obviously finish up our preparation for tomorrow night's game. Questions?
Jalen?
Do you feel like this is a different team, a different Northwestern team than the last time you played them?
No question about it, Matt. Watching them, as I said, I think they've really gotten better. They've really improved. They've stayed the course. They've done a great job. You know, they're playing with a lot of confidence right now. You know, they're really clicking offensively with shot making and execution, and you can tell just from watching them that they're having fun playing together, playing the game the right way. You know, certainly that's what I see on film.
Has Jalen?
Jalen's better. Practiced yesterday, although we didn't do a whole lot physically. Fever's down and manageable. We got some of his weight back on him, and you know, I anticipate him, you know, being able to go tomorrow.
Is there a formal diagnosis? Do you know what?
No, just, you know, I wasn't feeling well. I think there was a lot of stuff going around, and he had a high fever, and our most important thing was to get that fever down and to get his weight back up, because he had lost quite a bit of weight there, but now he's back to, you know, where he was prior.
John, you mentioned practice in the post game. Is that a new occurrence, something different that you weren't getting a lot in practice from some of the younger guys?
Yeah, I just didn't think they practiced very well. Got to play better, you know, and it was a good lesson for some of those guys. You know, some of the guys that turned the ball over in practice at the higher rates were the same guys that did it in the game. You know, the same guys that I didn't think were really locked in practice. You know, to the level of some of the other guys were the same guys that struggled a little bit in the game. You know, got to play better. Yeah, and it just so happened, it doesn't happen that way all the time, but you know, the 2 or 3 guys that were really locked in practice and had energy and were ready to go played pretty well in the game. You know, so that was the point I was trying to make to our team, and you know, a good lesson, you know, for some of those guys to learn.
Throughout the season, Laron has you know, he's committed a couple harder fouls, including in Iowa. There was one in the last game against Iowa. How do you kind of find that balance where you still want him to be obviously playing aggressive, but still control himself?
Yeah, he needs to find that balance for sure. You know, fouling is a mistake. I tell him that all the time, with rare exception. You know, if you're trying to stop the clock late or prevent a guy from getting a layup, you know, maybe something of that nature. But 90+% of the time, it's a mistake. You know, and we've got to learn. You're exactly right. I love LeRon's aggressiveness, and he's got to figure out a way, not just him, but our team. You know, we've done a pretty good job of defensive free throw rate all year, but in the last couple games, we've not been, you know, great with that. We've got to be better and get back to being that team that plays really hard without fouling.
How would you evaluate his progress, his, you know,
Up and down, you know, typical though. I mean, I think, Laurent's had some very good moments and made some big plays for us. And then there's some other things he's trying to learn and figure out.
There's a few occasions at Iowa. I was sort of referencing this the other night because it reminded me of the game 2 or 3 years ago. Malcolm or Kendrick drove into all the trees. Nothing good came out of it. Ray drove in sometimes and got fouls out of it. So I was trying to figure out whether they were supposed to draw the defense and then kick it out, or what the goal was.
You got to read it, Rob. I mean, it's one of those deals where it's not. So I was telling the staff this morning, it's not chess where you can just put your piece here, here, here. It's a little bit like life. The game's very dynamic. If you drive the ball and a shot blocker comes, pass. If you drive the ball and he doesn't come, lay it in or dunk it. If you got an angle, attack with that angle. The guy has you squared up, pass it. You got to have some instincts involved in this. I thought the other day that, I'll be honest, I thought the ball moved better than it did, certainly here at home against Michigan State. I thought we had some decent looks with some of those guys that we just didn't make. And we've got to just, step up and make a few more plays.
It's 3 games in a row for Kendrick, where he hasn't shot as well. What do you think the reasons are?
Just got to play better.
Is scouting a part of that? You got pitchers that adjust.
Oh, sure. I'm sure. People try to. It's a different game than it was when I first started with clips, synergy, and I just watched a bunch of them this morning. I mean, I get percentages on individual tendencies, personnel tendencies, team tendencies. I mean, I've got more information than you could shake a stick at. I mean, the game's changed in that regard from when I first started, Jeremy. It's a totally different deal. The amount of film we have access to, the amount of edits we can put together, and there's good coaches in this league and good players, and everybody's trying to take away each other's strengths.
Seems like Ray's doing kind of what you wanted him to do. It seems like he's playing team game. Just how would you?
Yeah, Ray's playing better. He practiced well last week. I thought he did some good things. We'd like for those guys to be a little bit more efficient, and we're working on that. But I think he's certainly made a lot of progress, Jeremy, from when he first came back until now. I think that's been significant.
Do you have plans to get him back in the starting lineup? Have you seen what you wanted, and is this a game with kind of the wing play? And
Yeah, it's not necessarily that he has to do something to get back in the starting lineup. He's playing, really well. I think people make too much about who starts and who doesn't start to begin with. A lot of times it's, for us it's rotations. It's, who plays with who based on, what we think our best combinations are for a game, the style of play of the game, who's going to finish the game for us, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm not, not that worried about that. Obviously, I don't know how many minutes per game he's played. I don't have that stat sheet in front of me, but it's been quite a few.
It doesn't seem like Kendrick's lacking in any confidence, though, even though he's had a couple bad games recently.
No, Kendrick's a tough kid mentally, and just kind of plays what's in front of him. It's one of the things I like about Kendrick, and that's kind of what he's doing. I'm for me with him, continuing to emphasize defending, taking a little bit better care of the basketball, but I'm not that worried about the shots. He's a good shooter. I want him aggressive, and I've got a lot of confidence that he'll make them.
Jim, were you happy with Malcolm's shots the other night?
Yeah, I was. Obviously, you'd like to see a few more of them go in. But I thought overall he was good. I thought he had a couple hard drives where there was some contact. Didn't work out for us, but I thought he had some good looks and just didn't make them. The biggest thing with him is just consistency on the defensive end. I'm more concerned about that because I know he's really talented, and if he gets good shots, he's going to make a lot of them.
Anything from the phone lines here for Coach?
Hey, John, it's David Mercer from AP.
Hey, David.
Talking about all the shooting problems. Back at the beginning of the year, you said you were pretty confident that this bunch would be a lot different than last year in its struggles. To what extent are you surprised to sort of find yourself in the same place at this point in the year?
Well, I don't think we're in the same place, David, at all. I do think certainly having to coach several different teams throughout the course of the year, change style of play, adapt, adjust, offensively and defensively. Certainly that affects rhythm a little bit and continuity and growth to some extent. But, at the end of the day, we've got to figure it out. I've said that from the beginning. And we've got to execute a little bit better than what we're doing right now, make a little bit fewer mistakes. But in terms of our shots, I think those, right now I don't have any issues with our shots the other night against Iowa. I thought that we moved the ball better, and we just didn't make enough of them.
Thanks.
Sure.
You always talk about adding or deleting a player, and he changes the team. What have you seen? How's Ray's kind of changed the team since he's come back?
It's great to have some depth. Obviously there for a while we were playing those guys on longer stretches. They were playing a ton of minutes. So I think that part has helped us for sure. I think obviously he helps our rebounding. I think he helps us defensively with giving us a lockdown guy on the perimeter. So I think all those things have certainly helped our team, and now we've got to figure out a way to continue to work our synchronization on offense. I think that's gotten better for sure. The other night I felt like we just didn't make enough shots. Michigan State game, I thought the ball stuck. It was too sticky. So I thought we improved from Michigan State to Iowa. But I think certainly it's great to have him back out there, because he's one of those guys that he doesn't affect the game just on the offensive end. He can affect it rebounding. He can affect it defending. He can, he gets his hands on a lot of balls. Like he has an ability to affect the game in all three areas: defending, rebounding, and offense. So anytime you can add a guy like that back to your rotation, at the end of the day, once we get synchronized, it's a benefit.
Can I ask a variant of that question? The other night, I think you had Jalen at the 1, Kendrick at the 2, Ahmad at the 3. Sometimes Ray is playing any of those positions.
Yeah, Jalen didn't play the other night because he was out.
But I mean, a couple of games ago, that
sometimes
lineup.
We'll play Stark some at the 2. You guys have seen us do that. We've done that less since Ray's been back. But Starks did a great job in that role during that time. You typically don't play that small, but we did, and I thought our guys did a good job of that, adapting and adjusting. That's what we needed at that time. But Ray really can play any of the 3 positions. He can play 1, 2, or 3 in our system.
So the question is whether you've come to a conclusion about 1 through 5, having particular guys in each of those slots that is the most effective 1 through 5 lineup of the season.
I've got a feel for what combinations play best together. Obviously, when you're in foul trouble like we were the other night, sometimes that gets thrown out the window. And then some of it's based on the team you're playing, and what you see and what they're doing defensively and who you think might be best in there at the time. So it's not necessarily a rote deal. We have an idea, but most games, I'll be honest with you, Rob, because the game balls like life, you get thrown pitches and you've got to adjust during the game on the fly. You got to try to manage the game the best that you can, whether it's foul trouble, whether it's the personnel they have on the floor, whether it's what you need at the time. Do you need more of an offensive lineup? Do you need more of a defensive lineup? Are they small? Are they big? Like there's a lot of factors and variables when it comes to that.
Under what circumstances would you play Ray at the 1, Joe?
Like the other night that we did the other night. Yeah, we had to play him there because Jalen was out. So, fortunately for us, Ray's played the position in the past, and he hadn't played it at all this year until the other night, and didn't have to play it a whole lot because we left Starks out there for a very long period of time. But he's always prepared to do that if we need him to do that, Tom.
Final questions? Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.